Ever since the end of Super Bowl 59, something that's fascinated me is the question of which team is better, the 2017 Super Bowl 52 roster of the Philadelphia Eagles or the 2024 Super Bowl 59 roster of the Philadelphia Eagles. If these two teams were to play a game against each other, which one would come out victorious? Let's get right into it. The first thing we'll be comparing are the two O-lines for these teams. We have the 2017 O-line on the left and the 2024 O-line on the right, and you will see a familiar face with Lane Johnson on both squads. I think most people assume that the Eagles have always had good O-line play. In 2017, the Eagles O-line was not a great one. They had injuries across the O-line with Jason Peters missing like the entire year, and he was the starting left tackle and he was really good at his job. And despite being good at run blocking, the 2017 squad could not protect the quarterback. On the other hand, not only were the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles very good at run blocking as well, but they were also elite pass blockers. Don't get me wrong, I don't think any of the players on the 2017 squad are scrubs. Obviously, you have Jason Kelsey, you have Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks, Vitae, like these guys were good. But when you compare them with the 2024 squad, I mean, having the 2024 O-line is like having the Pillsbury Doughboy, the Michelin Man, and Baymax from Big Hero 6 defending you. I mean, these boys were big. Mekhi Becton, huge. Jordan Mailata, huge. Lane Johnson, huge. Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson, I think, were a little undersized, but when you're built like athletic Peter Griffin, who needs the extra inches? When comparing these two O-lines, I think you have to give it to 2024. They were just elite on every level. Next up, let's look at the big boys on the other side of the trenches. Here we have our D-line with Brandon Graham, Vinnie Curry, Fletcher Cox, and Tim Jernigan on the left, Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, and Milton Williams on the right. We all know that Brandon Graham played on both of these teams, but he for sure had a more impactful position on the 2017 team rather than the 2024 team. I know the one thing that everyone raved about for the Eagles in 2024 was the fact that their D-line dominated. And they dominated in a way that not even the 2017 team could say that they did. But as an honest Eagles fan, I will say that the performance of this 2024 team was a tad fraudulent. I don't mean fraudulent as in this unit wasn't good, because it was great, but it played its best game in the Super Bowl. The major difference between this 2017 team and the 2024 team is that 2017 had so much more depth. This is just a starting four, but if you get beyond these guys, you have dudes like Bo Allen, Chris Long, Derek Barnett. Whereas with the 2024 team, Josh Sweat basically carried that defensive end position. Nolan Smith made a couple splash plays and Jalix Hunt did do a little bit. And speaking of Nolan Smith, what is this hairline? And at the defensive tackle position, you have a Jomo and Jordan Davis behind Jalen Carter and Milton Williams. But I wouldn't say that either of those players are elite, and I wouldn't even say that Milton Williams is elite. This is just my opinion, but I do think that the 2017 defensive line is a little better than the 2024 line. Of course, that Super Bowl 59 performance is a little deceiving, but I will give it to 2017. Next up, we're going back to offense, and we're taking a look at the tight end position. Here we have Eagles legend Zach Ertz, probably honestly the greatest tight end in Eagles history, with his backup Trey Burton, not pictured as Brent Selleck, but he didn't really do that much that season. And in 2024, we have the heir to the throne that Zach Ertz left when he went to Arizona, Dallas Goedert, with his backup Grant Calcaterra. It's important to remember that Trey Burton played a much more prominent role in the Eagles offense than Grant Calcaterra. Trey Burton, of course, had the Philly special pass. Grant Calcaterra, to be honest, he wasn't that great of a blocker this year, so Trey Burton is definitely the better backup. But when comparing these two stars, because I do think that Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz in these two respective years were stars. Zach Ertz was like the leading receiver for the Eagles that year. He was lights out. He probably had like 1,300 yards or something on the season. Dallas Goedert, despite being as talented or more talented athletically in my opinion than Zach Ertz, just didn't have those kinds of numbers. You could of course attribute that to there being more weapons on the Eagles in 2024 than 2017, but another reason is because Dallas Goedert just keeps getting hurt. The dude's made of glass. He can't keep himself out of that medical tent. Zach Ertz, on the other hand, was always reliable. He was always there. He played a massive part in the Super Bowl that Dallas Goedert just didn't serve. So for this, I'm going to have to give it to 2017 with having the better tight ends. Going back to defense, let's compare the 2017 and 2024 linebacker units. In 2017, we sported three different linebackers with Nigel Bradham, Michael Kendricks, and Jordan Hicks. These three dudes were studs. I wouldn't say that any three of these guys were elite or have ever been elite in their careers, but I would say that all three of these guys played very solid at their position in 2017. When we compare this to the 2024 unit, we have Nakobe Dean, Zach Bond, and Oren Burks. This is a little misleading because Oren Burks didn't really play until the second half of the season when Nakobe Dean got hurt. For most of the season, we just had a duo of linebackers with Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond. But man, I gotta tell you, this duo was elite. Leading up to his injury, Nakobe Dean was an incredible linebacker. He was making all the plays, he was making all the tackles, and of course, unfortunately, his season came to an end when he got hurt. But Oren Burks, Niner fans keep talking about how crappy he is. Bro stepped up in the biggest of moments, put on his big boy pants, and he went to work. I wouldn't say that he was as good as Nakobe Dean, but he definitely filled in to the point where I was never really looking at him as a liability on the team. But don't even get me started on my beautiful bald eagle, Zach Bond. Oh my gosh, how I would love to spit on his head and just shine it with a rag. Make it squeak and shine like Mr. Clean's bald egghead. Bro was a menace this year. There's a reason why he was a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. As a result, I do have to give this to 2024 by far. Moving back to offense, we have our 2017 group with LeGarrette Blount, Jay Ajayi, my boy, and Corey Clement. And we're comparing that group to the 2024 group, which was Saquon Barkley. In 2017, our rushing attack was impeccable. You had LeGarrette Blount, who was the hammer. You had Corey Clement out of the backfield as a receiving threat. He was the ankle breaker, but the glue that kept it together was Jay Ajayi. He was the heartbeat of that unit. When he had the ball in his hands, the dude would run angry. He'd be running as if he was heading to his ex's house when he found out she was cheating on him. But then we turned the chapter to 2024. What do we have? 2,000 rushing yards. The most rushing yards in a season, including the postseason, by a running back all time. Maybe a top 10, if not even top 5 performance by a running back in a single season in NFL history. The man, the myth, the former Giant. The Giants really let him go. Saquon Barkley. I don't even know if I need to say anything else. I would choose a Saquon Barkley who had both legs amputated and he's running on his hands over the 2017 squad. That's how good he is. Enough said, let's go on to the next unit. Next up, we're looking at the cornerback position. Okay, 2017 sucked. Jalen Mills was by far our best cornerback, but he wasn't even really that great. Ronald Darby barely played that year. He got the start in the Super Bowl. He wasn't great. Patrick Robinson had his moments, especially in the Minnesota game. Patrick Robinson, back the other way.
Patrick Robinson, back the other way.
But none of these guys would be a starter on the 2024 squad. Darius Slay, even though he is a little on the older side, played out of his mind this season. Quinyon Mitchell was a lockdown corner. We all know about Guantanamo Bay, but don't even get me started on the milkman. My little white glazed vanilla cupcake. Oh, how sweet you are. He picked off the frog on his birthday, ran it back for a touchdown. Maybe should have won Super Bowl MVP, who knows? Come on. Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Darius Slay, 2024 squad easily wins. Let's head back to the offense where we're looking at the receiver unit. In 2017, we were making it work with Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar, and Torrey Smith. Now, don't get me wrong, Alshon Jeffrey was the AJ before we got AJ Brown. Especially this year in 2017, the dude was the definition of clutch. Now, unlike Aguilar, Nelson was good, but not great. 2017 was by far his best season of all time, hands down. Every other season of his you could consider a bust. Torrey Smith was the aging veteran that we brought in to be a deep threat. He made some good catches downfield. He was never a reliable, consistent target. When we compare this unit with 2024, my gosh, don't even get me salivating.
If this brother had a few more inches, oh, Lord, don't get me salivating and fantasizing about things.
Arthur Juan, will you marry me? Devontae Smith, I don't even care that your mustache looks weird. I love you so much. Jahan Dotson, my boy. No, in all seriousness, AJ Brown is a top 5 receiver in the league, in my opinion, possibly top 3. Devontae Smith is a top 3 to top 5, number 2 receiver in the league, in my opinion. We're giving this a 2024 handedly. Next up, we're looking at the very last position group on the defense, which is the safety position. In 2017, we were blessed to have Malcolm Jenkins, who is a phenom, and Rodney McLeod, who I don't think many people give enough praise to. He was really good that season, in my opinion. And we're comparing these two safeties to CJ Gardner-Johnson and Reed Blankenship in 2024. Bro, I already miss CJ. He is Philly. I don't know where this man was born and raised, but he looks like he is a Philly man through and through. And Reed Blankenship. Oh my gosh, what can I say about you, Reed, that hasn't been said already? You've heard of a black queen, but have you heard of a white king? That's you, Reed. You and Cooper DeJean will satisfy our white boy fantasies for years to come. This might be the toughest one for me, but I do think I'm going to give it to 2024. I know Malcolm Jenkins was amazing. I just think that the duo of CJ Gardner-Johnson and Reed Blankenship is just, it's too much to pass up on. Now, before we move on to the very last position on the team, we haven't talked about special teams, kicker, punter. The kicker is Jake Elliott, that's the same. For the punter, both players on both teams were great. Not that there was much punting in either game, to be honest. And special teams, I feel like both special teams were pretty good. But now let's go to the position that you've been waiting for this entire video, the quarterback room. In 2017, we had sweet little Carson Wentz. What could have been, what should have been, what would have been had he not gotten injured in that Rams game. And of course, we have all hail the glorious king, Nick Foles, forever a Philly legend. And we're comparing this group with the 2024 group of Kenny Pickett and the Fresh Prince of Philly, Jalen Hurts. I know I'm kind of getting in my feelings for this one. This is definitely a difficult one to talk about. The 2017 team was interesting because I don't know if we would have gotten to the Super Bowl if it wasn't for Carson Wentz. In fact, I'm almost positive we wouldn't have won 13, 14 games with Nick Foles instead of Carson Wentz. But on the same note, I don't think we would have won that Super Bowl with Carson Wentz. Like in that game, I think Nick Foles performed the best that any quarterback could have performed playing against Tom Brady. And it's no shade to Carson. He had an MVP worthy season. Nick Foles just turned into a literal god in that game. Now, when we compare this to 2024, this is interesting because Kenny Pickett did take some snaps in the Super Bowl. So whether you like it or not, he has to be talked about at least a little bit. He has to be considered at least. After all, he beat the Cowboys. He almost beat the Commanders. He held down the fort while Jalen Hurts was injured. But when we're talking about Jalen Hurts, don't even get me started. He's my king. He's my prince. And he played great in not only Super Bowl 59, but Super Bowl 57 as well. Jalen Hurts made throw after throw, back-breaking run after back-breaking run, was quite literally the offense. If you're asking me who has been a better quarterback in their career overall, I would say that Jalen Hurts has been better than Nick Foles was in his career. But if we're looking at these two Super Bowl performances and we're comparing these two teams against each other, Nick Foles was a sight to behold. It will take a long time for me to say that any Eagles quarterback will ever have a performance like that Nick Foles performance in the Super Bowl. So with that being said, I have to give it to 2017. It's no shade to Jalen Hurts, my sweet fresh prince. You are a top 3 Eagles quarterback of all time, if not the greatest Eagles quarterback of all time. But Nick Foles had the singular best Eagles quarterback performance in a game of all time. So out of these 9 different position groups, I do have the 2024 team winning with 6 better units than the 2017 team. 2017 just had 3 units better than the 2024 team in my opinion. And in all honesty, I think this would have been a shootout. I think it would have been Nick Foles putting up more of a fight than Patrick Mahomes did against that stout Eagles defense, and Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts having a field day. But I do think that the 2024 team would prevail at the end of the day. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. I have so many more football videos coming out. Like this video, comment down below other video ideas that you might have that I could pick up. I really hope you have a good day. Talk to you later.